If you've been thinking about implementing a badge or sticker system in your classroom as a form of providing specific praise and reward for your students, you are on the right track. That's a very, very student-centered, culture-minded action. I'm here today in this video to show you how to keep track and how your students can keep track of their rewards, of their accolades, so that they can use it to fuel their learning going forward, and you can use it to track and collect data for future instruction. If we've not met yet, my name's Lisa. I have nearly 15 years experience now teaching science, chemistry specifically, to high schoolers. But I've gotten all that experience in the online distance learning environment, which has been especially hard to drive engagement. It's only been 4 or 5 years ago now that I've implemented student-centered techniques, a student-centered classroom culture, and active learning inquiry-based lessons. Yes, that's right, in online school. And Lab in Every Lesson has been designed with professional development and ready-to-go lessons in mind to help other teachers do the same, so we can really transform science education for our students. Now this year, I am implementing something new and totally crazy in my classroom, and that is a sticker reward system. This sticker reward system was born out of after 4 years of delivering inquiry-based active learning activities. And I've always been very, very intentional about the feedback I give to students. But as I teach the lessons more and more and more every year, I realize how they truly don't know how to do each step of what we call science and make inquiry. The realization that some of the most basic observations are some of the most important observations, and that they start the ball rolling for everything else. So this year, I really wanted to put a system into place to specifically praise and let students know what they're doing well. Because we think that they can't critically think and analyze, but sometimes those observations are the hardest thing for them to get. And it's going to vary different for every student. So I wanted a system to keep track of what my students were doing well, to reward them, certainly, increase growth mindset and confidence and all of that, but also for my own reasons, to track growth in the classroom as it pertains to science's practice in a more three-dimensional, holistic teaching perspective. And so these 8 badges on my wall represent the 8 actions within science that I'm emphasizing with my students this year. They include observations, questions, evidence, inferences, analysis, teamwork, communication, and experimental design. Now, it's a fantastic system. I'm really excited about it, but the key to its success really is going to be in tracking it. So very basically, the system goes, if a student collects 5 of one type of badge, they'll earn an opportunity to spin a reward wheel. And I do have another video all about the reward wheel and creating one. That link is down in the description below. But I also need a way to keep track of what I've given them then, and they need a way to keep track as a means of making that student-centered empowerment, ownership of learning piece. So what I'm here to show you today is some ideas for your own system of tracking if you're going to put together something like this, or if in fact you've purchased mine and you're starting to explore how to use this, this is what you need. So let's dive in. Here we have the Google Slides version of the student tracker. So I'm going to show you the student tracker first. On the first page, I'm mindful to give exactly the outline of the whole system and what they should do and how they should use it. Of course, this is totally optional. I have students who just want to get through my high school chemistry class and graduate in June. So some aren't going to be interested in this. Some are going to think it's childish, but truly the system that I'm discussing here today, I'd say it could be used grades 6 through 12. And so I encourage you, whatever you create, if you're creating one of your own, that you do make the expectations clear as part of the tracker. That way they can never be confused, they can never be misled, they never have to ask. And if they do, you can point them exactly to where they need to be. But after that, all it is a series of calendars. So I've chosen to make, as you can see here, I've chosen to make a portrait style, and I completed them, like I provided accurate calendars straight through the month, numbered, so you don't have to number them, for the year 2023, 2024. And down at the bottom, I have included the badges that I'm using to reward my students. There's enough in here for them to collect, for one student to collect the same one every day of the month. And all students need to do, if they're using the digital version, is drag and drop them onto the day they were rewarded. Now in my class, I'm going through their work and I'm giving them a note, and we have a system for communicating, go ahead and reward yourself that badge for that day. And so they will take that cue from me. They won't reward it themselves, but they will be able to drag and track it all here. And then let me know when they have reached 5. Just like the game of bingo, you know, when you get 5 in a row or 5 diagonal. And that's something you could do too. You could always modify this. Instead of using it as a calendar, you can adjust what I have here as my sort of system into a different sort of system where you actually get bingo in a specific shape for a certain month. But what you can see here is I created it in a conventional digital notebook style, but really students can just scroll through the left-hand side and manage all of their badges. And what this also allows as a year-long planner style is that they could look back on their achievements. Also, I would be mindful that when you create your reward system, like I have done here, you create enough badges so that a student could, if you're coming up with a system like this where they are earning so many in a single period of time, like 1 month, that they have an opportunity to collect all the badges throughout the year in a reasonable time frame, something that is actually attainable. And so in my system, I have 8 badges, and there are 10 months of the school year. So a student could kind of be just overwhelmed with other things for 2 months of the year, not participate, and still collect all the badges. Some of these badges are going to be really difficult for them to collect 5 in a month. Or for example, experimental design, I probably won't even lean into that until late in the school year. So some of them will naturally come later. Those are all things you want to take into consideration if you are in fact designing your own system. Now, this is created as a Google Slides file. So if you are a teacher and you use Google Classroom, you're familiar with sharing things out to students with using the Google platform, this should be just a plug and play for you. For others of you, especially those in the middle school, lower level middle school, you might use SeeSaw. Now, I actually use SeeSaw as a high school teacher, but I teach in the online learning environment. And SeeSaw just is such a powerful resource for doing the same sort of thing as Google could do for me there in terms of providing an ongoing record of student participation. The difference being, in my school, I'm not a Google school, so I can't go in and see someone's tracker to verify if they're participating or not. Whereas in SeeSaw, I can take a snapshot at any time. The other great thing about SeeSaw that I love is that the parents can get in there, and the parents can communicate with their child and with the teacher. And so if this is something, you know, it makes praise it extends beyond the student and goes into the family, which I believe is a completely necessary part of learning and succeeding students reaching their goals, to involve the parents. So if I just click present to class here, you can see I have exactly the same file. I have the instructions on that first page, and in SeeSaw there's the added benefit of being able to pull down and see actual, like, detailed instructions about everything they are to do. But the remainder of the document remains the same. There are badges that they can drag and drop, and the difference in SeeSaw is that these are unlimited. You wouldn't You wouldn't need them to be unlimited because there's as many as you could possibly need in the Google file as well. Additionally, you could actually use, without doing anything special or viewing it in a special way, you could actually use the tabs functionally to jump from month to month. I really do love SeeSaw. I encourage you at any grade level to explore its features and all of its benefits on your own. So this is one element of tracking. Now, when my students say, Mrs. Carosis, I have 5, just like if I were running bingo, I want to be able to verify that. Not to mention that the whole reason I'm doing it is to see where my students stand across the board with regard to all of these science as practice actions. And so we also have, I would recommend, if you are creating your own system, that you have a teacher tracker. Now, you might argue, your online school, that's why you need a teacher tracker. You don't actually get to see their hard copy version. And if you're listening to me and you're an elementary school teacher and you're going, I'm just going to print these out and make photocopies, staple them together and hand them to students, I'm going to physically hand them the reward, go you. I think that's fantastic. Definitely something I couldn't do. I could not be without the teacher tracker. However, I want to emphasize that this is going to become data in the long term. Data about individual students, but then also data about lessons that you're teaching and which ones are more amenable to various aspects of the scientific method. If you are watching me and you're a science teacher, and that applies. It's very active learning oriented, so these are not going to align with lecture-based notes that you're delivering, you're talking to your students, but action-oriented lessons. What I have here is, this is supposed to say student name, students. On the left-hand side, we have student name, and of course, these are fictitious names, Joe Smith, Mary Monroe, and Mickey Mouse. And then across, for 30 days, this is the month of September, I have the date and the lesson title. Okay? There's enough days, like I said, for every day of the month. You may not use them all. And then you see none filled in all of these blanks here. That's because they are all drop downs. So let's say today is 9/14/23, and today I am teaching basic chem terms. Okay? You could resize, of course, however you need. And Joe Smith made some amazing observations. So I've built this so that you could choose from the list of your badge or sticker types. And if you're using my system, these are the ones you're going to be referring to. Joe made some great observations. And Mary had some great inferences that she suggested. She went on a limb, felt really strong, confident about that. Mickey Mouse, he asked some good questions. Now, that's useful independently. But once we start filling them out over time, what we start to see is something that's very easy to manage. And that is that once a student reaches 5, and I'm just kind of randomly selecting a bunch here to show you that they do not have to be in consecutive order. Once the student gets 5 in any one area, the entire row will highlight that color. So as I'm going at the end of each day and entering, reviewing student work, or maybe at the end of each week, whatever your system, your teacher system workflow allows, as you are logging them, at some point in time, you're going to be able to see these rows highlight. And that's going to be an indicator that ding, 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 that student gets a spin at the reward wheel. And it's less cumbersome and eye pain for you to go through and look for those individuals yourself. And this should work for all the different types. So if we go after inferences here, because Mary is really good at making inferences, she does it almost every day. And then we have the whole row highlights purple. And I would probably, as I am doing with my students, I'd recommend that you put the onus on the student to notify you and that you use this as a verification. Oh yes, I see Mary's highlighted purple and she came to me and said, I need a reward wheel spin. I collected 5 inference badges. That's the way I would go because that's the way I'm going, but perhaps you would do it a little differently. Now down below in this worksheet, you'll notice that I have one of these tabs for every single month set up the same way. And something I'm doing, because we work in marking periods when we give out report cards, is every time a student earns a reward wheel spin, I will go into that quarter marking period and make the note. So Joe Smith got observations on, and I might enter the date here. Let's say it took him till October, well, it's the 14th. So let's say it took him till the 28th to do that. And on the 28th, we spun the reward wheel for him. And Mary got inferences, and she got inferences on October 2nd. Oops, battery's running low. Okay, and so that way you can keep track of which students earned which rewards on which week or day or month. And so you have a multi-dimensional means of tracking this. You may only want to give it a call. This is maybe what you use for your positive calls home or your parent-teacher conferences once every quarter. Joe earned the badges observation, analysis, and teamwork this month. This is what he's doing really great at in science. And if currently you're not able to say those things about your students because you have had no way to track it, class time is just kind of chaos. Now this system accomplishes so many things. I hope you found this helpful. If you'd like some more tips and tricks about student-centered instruction, especially science-related, definitely focused on that middle and high school level, please visit labineverylesson.com and get yourself on my email list to receive my newsletter. Check in the comments below for any other relevant links to products or blog posts or videos that I mentioned in this video. And thanks for watching.